Hello everyone, so today our topic is database design in MySQL. For those of you who are not too sure about what MySQL is basically a database management system which is used for managing content in different programming languages or even the different kind of software that we have in our computers. So let's start off with database design. Let's define what it is. Database design is just a model with the information of the data it must hold and the relationship amongst the different components in it. One of the model or components we're going to talk about is ER diagram, otherwise known as entity relationship model. Entity relationship model has three different components: entity sets, attributes, and relationships. Entities are the main aspect of the database, which are represented by a rectangle. Then comes attributes. Attributes are the components or the subsection of the domain. They are usually represented by a circle or an oval, if you'd like to call it that. Then comes down the relationships. Relationships are basically a rhombus shape which joins two different domains together. Now that we have our definitions and the shapes correct, let's move on to the next slide, which is an example. So here we have an example. The question is, we have employee which belongs to a department. Each employee has a name, job, and a salary. Each department has number, name, and a location. Now we need to create an ER diagram with all the information that's provided in that question. What we did over here is that because we know that employee belongs to a department, we know that entity set would be the employee and the department, because these two are the main things that are in the question. Then we move on to attributes. Now we need to look for what the attributes are in this question right here. Attributes in this question would be the name, job, and the salary for the employee, and number, name, and location for the department. Now that we have our entity down, our attributes down, let's move on to relationship. Now we need a way to join the employee to the department. In the first line right here, it says employee which belong to a department. So we could use this keyword belong to join both of our entity sets. Now here you have a diagram which clearly shows what the entity is, what the attributes are, and what the relationship is, and how to join it. This is a perfect example of what an entity or an ER diagram looks like. Now, let's test yourself. If you're confident with all the material you've seen till now, please answer this question. The question is, how many components does an ER diagram have? And name them. Here are the four options. Please pick one, answer on a separate piece of paper, pause this video right here, and then come back to it. Now, I'm sure you've answered it correctly, and I'm sure everyone knows what it is. So here's the solution just to check your answers. So the question was, again, how many components does an ER diagram have, and name them. So the correct solution is it has three different components, like we talked about earlier in the lecture. The components are entity sets, attribute, and relationships. I cannot stress it enough, and I cannot tell you how important it is to know the different components, because once you know the components, once you know how to identify all the components in a given question, you would be able to create any type of ER diagram. And trust me on that, I mean it. So now, let's move on. Here is an example, or it's a quiz question for you to try and see what all you got out of this video. So the question says that let's design a database for a bank, including information about customer and their accounts. Information about a customer includes their name, address, phone, and SIN number. Accounts have numbers, types, example saving or checkings, and balances. We need to record the customers who owe an account. We need to draw an ER diagram for this database. Now pause the video again over here, please, and try drawing an ER diagram. Once you try it, you got your solution, we can move on. Now here's the solution for our question. Again, if we go back to the question says that we need to create a ER diagram for customers and the account that they own. From the question over here, the first thing we need to look for is our entity sets. The second thing we need to look for is our attributes, and the last thing, but not the least, is our relationship. It's very important to get those things down first and then start creating your ER diagram, because once you have all the information down, it's very easy to convert that written information into a diagram. So from the question we can see that our entity sets are going to be customers and accounts. Name, address, phone numbers will be our attributes for the customer, and the number, type, and balance will be the attributes for the accounts. Now the relationship between a customer and an account or accounts will be owns, because a customer owns an account or two accounts or how many ever accounts. Now, this wraps up our lecture. I hope you learned a lot about ER diagram and database design. Thank you for watching, everyone, and hope you all learned a lot.